full-time real estate investor. That's what I do. So the nature of today's class is to teach you guys on how you guys can create wealth in real estate. Okay? So there's a lot of different ways here, but we're going to stay focused on short-term as well as long-term wealth building here. So the goal today is to teach you guys the secret of real estate. And it's very basic and it's very simple. Is locating properties. We all know, with real estate, it's all about location, location, location. And locating the right property in the right neighborhood with the right demographic, the right geographic, the right neighborhood where there's appreciation, there's value, there's things happening in the neighborhood. So teaching you guys how to actually locate the properties. And then once you locate the property, that's where you can make money with that property, either short term if you decide to wholesale it and flip it, or if you decide to buy it, rehab it, and then flip it for a larger gain. Okay? Long term in real estate is basically when you're buying something, you're going to hold it, you're going to rent it out for 2, 3, 4 years, and you're getting cash flow from it. Okay, so we'll talk about these three things today. The short-term profits is basically, like we were talking, two methods. One is wholesaling, okay, where you get a property, you get it under contract. You can do that with a private seller. And then we'll go over some tools that I have here, spreadsheets and different ways where you can find these motivated sellers. And with the foreclosure market the way it is, there's a lot of people out there that are in distressed situations. Okay, so it's just a matter of how to get to them, how to talk to them, how to present to them, how to make them a fair offer, because nobody wants to be taken, right? So that's what we're going to go over today. So, and the other way of short term is basically buying, doing the actual rehab, and then actually fixing it up, and then selling it. And that normally takes about 8 to 13 weeks, with my experience. But some other people, it may take a little bit longer. But it also depends on the size of the house. If it's a larger house, it's going to take longer. It also depends on the actual repairs. So you may have a property where it may need a total gut job, and that may take longer. But what I try to do is I try to look for a lot of homes where you don't need to do a total gut job, but you can actually get in and do the basic minimum: paint, carpet, new kitchen, new bath, maybe do some landscaping, add a deck or two, give it curb appeal, and then you can normally get in within 8 to 13 weeks, get in and get out. With this type of model here, you have to be very cautious and pay attention to your construction budget. Okay? So this is where a lot of investors actually end up losing a lot of money, because they don't stay within the construction budget and they end up getting a bad contractor. And having a good contractor on your team that's able to do the necessary work and give the product the right finishes is what's going to help sell the house. Right? So this is what I specialize in, buying and flipping. This is where you can end up making $30,000 to $40,000, $50,000 per property. Okay, but again, you got to have the right contractor, you got to have a budget, you got to have timelines, and you got to stick to those things. And if you do that, you can make, like I said, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, if not more. Just to give you an example, I bought a property in D.C. in December. It's under contract now. I bought it for $99,000. We put about $65,000 into it. We had it under contract for $275,000, and it went under contract within 3 days. So on that property, I'll end up probably making about $70,000, $80,000 after paying everybody out. So then, when you do this kind of model, you have two ways of doing it. You can use a hard money or a private money where you pay extra fees for that, or you can use your own cash. Okay. So it depends on your cash flow. If you go with the hard money, then you're going to have additional cost in that, which usually hard money is charged 6 points and then 16% with the 6-month term. Okay. So again, you got to know your budget. You got to have a good budget, because all those costs have to be added up properly, right? So here we'll just go over a quick example of a property. Let's say you end up buying it for $66,000, and you're going to have closing costs on the front end. Okay, about $1,500, and then let's say your rehab budget on this thing is $25,000. And then your total, now this is based on a cash deal. Okay, So your total investment on this thing is going to be $92,500. And then let's say you sell it for $175. And then on the back end, when you sell it, you're going to have real estate commission, which is about $10,000, and then you're going to have closing costs for you as the seller, okay, about 2% normally. DC is a little bit higher than Prince George's County. And then you'll have your IRS, where your Uncle Sam wants their money. So anything less than 12 months is considered a short-term hold. So where Uncle Sam wants 35% of that. Anything longer than 12 months is considered long-term, and it's about 17%. Okay. So in this particular deal, the total profit to the investor is $44,000. So you'll end up getting back your $44,000, which is what you made, and plus you get back your $66,000, which you put into the deal. And the fees you write off on your taxes. Okay. So this particular deal, again, 8 to 13 weeks, get in, get out. You notice our construction cost is $25,000. So normal rehab costs in normal projects are between $40,000 to $50,000, $55,000. Okay. Again, it goes back to the type of property. If it's a colonial versus a rambler versus a ranch, it depends on the neighborhood. If you're in a B neighborhood, a D neighborhood, C neighborhood, you don't want to overbuild, and you never want to, have a Porsche on a Volkswagen lot, because people will come with Volkswagen money, and your house is going to end up sitting and you end up losing money. So again, you got to be careful with what kind of renovations you do, what kind of budget you have, and you always look at the exit first. If you're a patient, and you got to have a good contractor, you got to have a solid budget, you got to stay on timelines. And on this project, we'll end up making like close to $55,000, $60,000 on this project. Okay, but there's a lot of variables that go into it. So today's theme is to property locator. Locate the right property, do the right renovations to it. You'll always sell it. Okay. So when I'm doing a project like that, I'm always keeping the buyer, the end buyer in mind. What kind of buyer is going to buy this? Is it going to be a single female, a husband and wife, kids? You got to keep all that in mind, because you want to do the right type of renovations for the right house. Okay. So again, this is just an example of how you can actually make money short term. And the goal here is, we all want to make money, right? But if you get into the wrong deal, you could lose a lot of money real fast too, right? So a lot of these homes, you got to keep in mind, they're like built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and 70s, and we all know that the earth shifts, earth moves, the dirt moves. So a lot of times, especially if they're on a hill, you're going to have some foundation issues, right? Because the rain and stuff like that, dirt washes away. So you got to look at the actual foundation of these homes. Be very careful with it. I had a buddy of mine that bought a house, okay, got a great deal on it, but the foundation was cracked. He ended up spending almost $25,000 just getting the foundation fixed. Okay, because then when the inspector came out there, and the inspector said, look, the foundation is damaged, then that goes in the record. I mean, you being a real estate agent, and you know that, right? So then you're not going to be able to sell the house until you get that fixed. So, I mean, right there was his profit. So, locating the property is one thing, but knowing how to do the actual repairs and do the assessment and doing the walkthrough, determine what kind of money you're going to put into it, is a totally separate thing, right? So, I mean, nobody wants to lose money here. So the goal is for me to teach you and show you, what are the things you want to look for so you don't make those kind of mistakes. All right? Oh, I'm sorry, your name?
Jason.
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 Okay, you want to just take a minute to introduce yourself real quick?
Okay, my name is Jason Schwartz. I'm here to learn more about brickfront properties and I guess how to be a property locator. What things to look for, what things not to look for, what things are important in terms of locating the right property and get the best return on your investment.
Now, do you have background experience in real estate now? Have you done anything?
Well, no, I've been doing a lot of research now.
Okay.
I've just been researching, and I came across this opportunity, so I figured this was a good place to start.
All right, good. Okay. All right, so now we'll talk about, any questions so far? No? So we'll talk about long-term. Now, this is the long-term hold. This is basically where you're buying a property. It could be apartment buildings. It could be shopping centers. It could be where you're just buying something and you're going to hold it for 2 or 3, 4 years. But again, the main ingredient, again, is locating the right property in the right neighborhood. Okay, so you want to, when you buy these type of properties, you want to look at, you know, is the neighborhood good? Is there things happening in the neighborhood? Is the city or the county looking to bring in a new metro station, new shopping center? Is there new things in the horizon that's going to allow the neighborhood to appreciate in value? Okay, so all these things you always want to think about. When you think about long term, you want to think about what's going to happen 2, 3, 4 years from now. So, for example, I bought a property right here in the Central Avenue off of Ritchie Road, okay, over there by Yolanda Avenue. I knew 3 years ago that they were going to bring that Walmart down here. You know what I'm talking about, on Ritchie Road? Where the Walmart is with the Chick-fil-A when you're going down 495. Okay, so I knew that back then. So I ended up buying this property, but again, that's a long-term hold, right? So, I mean, they were supposed to have started their shopping center 2, 3 years ago, but they got behind, whatever, but they're doing it now. Okay? So when you look at it, you want to look at the neighborhood, you want to look at what is the city or the county doing, what's happening in the neighborhood. You know, you want to look at what your investment strategy is. I mean, what do you want to do with this property? You just want cash flow? You're going to flip it? What do you want to do to it? All those things have to be analyzed. So we have different spreadsheets and tools that you can use to be able to plug in your numbers and determine, you know, are you happy with the $200 return every month, or do you want a $400 return every month? Okay, it goes back to locating the right property at buying it at the right price. So when you do a long-term hold, you want to make sure that you don't buy something where it needs $50,000, $60,000 of renovations. You want to be able to get in there, do a new carpet, do new paint, because the tenants are going to beat it up. Believe me. I mean, especially if you get a Section 8 tenant in there, they're going to get in there and they're going to beat it up. So you want to do enough to the property where it's presentable and you can actually get $300, $400, $500 cash flow out of there. Okay? So this is a great way to build long-term wealth. I got about 30 rental properties now in D.C., Maryland, Virginia. But it took me time to build up to that. You know, and believe me, I've made a lot of mistakes with a lot of tenants. You know, one of the tenants, matter of fact, now is living in one of my condos. She got cancer. Well, I don't want to put her out. You know, she's got no family in the area. She called me around Thanksgiving time and told me what's happening. She hasn't paid me rent for 6 months. Okay? So I'm not saying you should do that, but it's a give and take, right? So with her, you know, she's been a great tenant. So I'm allowing her to live there, but, you know, but now the back rent is up to like $8,000. So eventually you got to say, you got to go, or you got to find ways to do it. So with her, we try to see if she could try to qualify for Section 8. But when we call PG County, there's a 5-year wait for Section 8 new applicants. So that's not going to be an option. Okay? So we try to work with your tenants and stuff like that. That means the key is with long-term hold, keeping the tenant in the property as long as possible. Because every time a tenant leaves, it's going to cost you an average about $2,500 to replace that tenant. Okay? You have to get in there, you have to do something. You have to get the carpets clean, you have to paint, you have to advertise, you have to screen the new tenants. You may end up paying mortgage payment out of your pocket for 1 or 2 months until you find the new tenant. So try to keep the tenant in the property as long as possible. Even if you got to go in there, sometimes I'll say, hey, listen, I'm going to come in there. If the tenant says I'm leaving, I'm like, well, what do you know, what if I come in there and give you a new refrigerator? What if I come in there and give you a new stove? What if I come in there and paint the house? Right? So it may cost me $1,000, but that's a lot cheaper than having to move out and then bring my guys back in there and clean it up. So you try to work with the tenants, right? Try to give them some incentive to stay there. Okay? All right, so how to actually find these properties. Okay, and that's like the nugget, right? So I'm gonna pass you some information here. Here are some free, you know, I mean, I like free. I'm sure everybody likes free. Okay, so different free websites and tools that you actually go to. And keep in mind, the more work you put into this, the more success you're gonna have, right? So it's the only thing I can do is give you the information, give you the tools, give you the resources, but you guys actually got to get out there and make it happen, right? So with this particular here, this is a different ways of actually finding, like the motivated sellers, and how to reach out to them, how to get their name, how to get their phone number, how to get their address, how to track them down. Okay, so a lot of these websites are free. There are some websites on here that actually charge, but I mean, if you put some sweat into this thing, you shouldn't have to pay for anything. Okay. So if you just take a minute to go over that. I thought I had more of these. Make videos when we get out there, so when we come back we can do the proper rehab. Because you look at so many properties, you forget which roof was bad, which one wasn't bad.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the subject property of the month.
Oh, this is the property we bought.
Elfin Avenue, and this is the first week of work. So what we have here is a demolition process, and basically just have the guys in here clean up everything, pull up the carpet, off the floors, off the stairs, back in this area, to the bathroom, so that's knocking down to do. Okay, pull down the door, clean it up. This bedroom here, pull the carpet up as well.
Now this property had been sitting for almost 2 years.
Okay, at least we can see what we're dealing with this
It
one.
had about 20-30 cats and dogs in there.
Okay. Pull down some walls.
I mean, it was
pull up the carpet.
one of the worst properties I've been in
Well.
terms of smell and order. Okay, we bought this property for $31,000
Okay.
right here in Capitol Heights.
About the kitchen area.
And the guy kept coming back, kept feeding the cat every week. So you can see the transformation. You can see week 1 what the house looked like, week 2 the progress we've made, week 3, week 4, week 5, and then you can actually see the final product. So when people see the actual home and they see the final product, they're like, wow. I mean, it's like a total transformation there. So with each one of these projects, again, you got to be careful with the structure of the house. You gotta be,
Hey, good morning, everybody. Brickfront Properties, 1104 Elfin Avenue. The project is completed. It's on the market. We've had about 6 or 7 different people look at it, and possibly a contract coming through.
You got a contract on it now. We're supposed to settle yesterday.
This
We
week.
had some title issues.
Great property, great price, $169,900. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. Come on in. Landscaping is holding well. We had a little bit of snow this morning, so we had 2 cars in the driveway.
How you doing? Come on in.
So all the trash they took out so far. Put up the old wash machine, dryer, everything that's not useful, anything that cannot be used, they're taking out, sweeping up, cleaning up.
With your product, so we add backsplashes, we add upgraded faucets, lights. We can't do ceiling fans in most houses. Unless the ceiling is low, then we can't do ceiling fans. We had a professional photographer come out and he made the videos and stuff like that here. A lot of times these little cosmetic tile work takes a long time. That's why it costs more. It's decorative, But like all these little pieces, they're like individual pieces. They're like $20 a piece. So that's a finished basement we did with the wet bar. And we put a kitchen, we put a sink under there for the wine bottles and stuff. And then we do a lot of custom tile work, because that's what people see. That's what pushes their houses and stuff. We sold this house within 5 days.
Wow.
And then we stage. We do a lot of staging, so we stage our homes too, so it looks like a model house. Then when people actually see the functionality, the space, and we do a lot of lighting, recessed lights throughout the house. That's the finished basement. And then we stage our bathrooms and stuff.
A lot of counter space, a lot of kitchen cabinets, a lot of counter space.
Every woman likes a big
lot of
kitchen.
storage room. Plenty of space for pots and pans and dishes and spices and so forth. Look how shiny the hardwood floors are. Okay, so there's a bedroom right here on the first level. Okay. Closet with the light in it. It's about I think like 11 by 12, 10 by 11, something like that.
And so people don't realize a light in the closet is a huge thing. Because sometimes you look at that black t-shirt and it's up in that corner and you ain't got no light.
This is the
The
final
house, what it
product.
looked like, now look at it now.
1104 Alton Avenue on the market for $169,900.
Same
Brand new
house.
house, new lights, new floors, new windows, new doors, crown molding. Come on in, we're in the living room. Just gonna try to take a look around. Here's a bathroom right here in the hallway. I'll zoom in a little bit on the bathroom. Okay. Steps going up. 2 bedrooms upstairs and a half a bath. Kitchen. Open platform. Crown molding. Recessed lights.